When did you hear about World War II, the United States being in it?
Well, I was staying at the Franklin Brothers in Fairmont, West Virginia, and I was about 18, I guess. And Junior was about 16. I think he had to be 16 to get the driver's license, and he was on a learner's permit. So it was on Sunday morning, December the 7th, 1941. And he wanted to go up to the station for some reason or other. So I went with him up there, and he parked the car right in front of the door, on the side of the street. And said, "You go up Dutch?" I said, "No, I'll hang around here till you get through." So he went up there, and he wasn't there, just you're coming running back down. Dutch said, "We're at war." Said, "The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941. I know where was that. And he said, "We're at war." And of course, it hadn't been declared yet, but he knew it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then it was about, I don't know, I worked about 4 or 5, maybe 6 months, still working the mines, before they called me. I got a call from the draft board, so I was down here in Winterford, and that's where my mom and dad was at, and I worked down there in the mines for a little while. I couldn't make nothing but my cigarette money, so I quit there and come back up here at Page, and that's when I got with Franklin's. And so I had to come back down here to my draft board down here.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and told them, I said, they're looking for paratroopers in Charleston, and I said, it'd be all right if I go down and join. And they said, "Oh yeah, we don't care as long as you fill your duty." So I went to Charleston and joined the paratroopers.
Now, why did you join the paratroopers versus?
Well, I didn't like walking too well. I thought that way, I'd get a good ride. I did, but I found out they wasn't riding, wasn't all there was to it. There was a lot of walking. And we had to run to qualify. We had to run 5 miles. Mm-hmm. And of course we built up to it. But it wasn't that much fun in it, I'll tell you. And the longer it went, the less fun there was in it.
Yeah. What did they do for the physical exam?
Down there?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know really. They gave you a pretty examination. But the thing that beat me is when they went to measure me for my clothes, my uniform and stuff, my feet. And he measured my foot. He said he's a 9B. B's about like that. 9's about like that. And I couldn't wear them stinking boots. I couldn't. I said, "Buddy," "these boots are too tight for me. Them boots fit you perfectly. Go on out of the line." And then they had to ship me all the way to Texas, and along the way somewhere, I don't know where I got it at, but I found out my size was 8D. So that's a whole lot wider, and shorter. And that's the way they treat you when you're in there. So I went to Camp Walters, Texas, and I had 13 weeks basic training, and came from there back to Fort Benning, Georgia for paratroop training.
And what kind of training did you have to do to be in the paratroopers?
Well, of course, you had to take your basic first, and that's firing your rifles and mortars and stuff learning all that, to take them apart and put them back together and all that stuff. And then you did your marching and so on and so forth. And when you come to parachute school, you had to learn to pack a parachute, and you packed your own and then jumped it. You had to make sure you put it together right.
Yeah.
But anyway, they said if it don't open, said you can come back and we'll give you another. But then I jumped on the 3rd jump, I broke an ankle. So it was just before Thanksgiving in 1942. And It's Thanksgiving Day. In fact, the day before Thanksgiving is when I made the jump and I broke my ankle. And I got up the next morning and my ankle was about to get bigger round, you know, and it's so sore I couldn't touch it. I couldn't even get a sock on, much less a shoe. So I didn't get to breakfast that morning. I still stayed around there in the barracks. And dinner time come, and here come a friend of mine from up in Parkersburg. And he brought another friend, I don't even remember who he was. So let's go to dinner. I said, buddy, I can't walk. I can't go to dinner. Oh, yeah, you are. They just picked me up and carried me over. So I had a turkey dinner on Thanksgiving, and thanks to them. Then I went on sick call the next day. And x-rayed it and it busted, so they put me on a cast. And I think it's 2 days later they put what they call a walking stick on it. It's a little old thing about that long. They put it on the middle of your, just the forward of the heel, you know, just on about the middle of your foot. Of course, you couldn't move your foot anyway. It was in the cast. And they started you walking as soon as they could get you walking on that walking arm. And you walk with crutches to start with. And we were down there one day and it was raining, and they had this old hallway from where we were at, you know, in the hospital there, down to the mess hall. So we started down there, and this guy said, hey, let's get in the race. I said, okay, so here we went. And we came down to the hall, and it made a turn this way, you know, and it went downhill a little bit. And there was a leaking. There's them pine boards. We hit that, and boy, we had a wreck from here to yonder. So as we found out about it, the officer found out about it. Yeah, boys, he called us in and said, I'm going to give you guys a furlough, said, before you kill one another. So I got a 30-day furlough out of that one. And you might think I went back and did it on purpose, but I didn't. I broke cousin on the next jump.
Oh.
I got 21 days out off of that one. And I went back and shipped me overseas. I still couldn't walk. And they went out for runs, you know, and for exercise and all that. And a officer had paired me up with another guy. I don't know whether he had busted an ankle or not. But anyway, we're the two slowest fellows in the whole crowd. So they paired us up to do the running. When we had to, you know, our turn come to run. We couldn't run, we could hardly walk.
What?
That was in North Africa.
So when you were over here, when did you get your call to go overseas? As far as when you were after doing your training and everything.
Oh, to go overseas? I don't really remember, because they shipped us up to Camp Shanks, New York, and we were outfitted up there. And they took us out and put us on the biggest ship that was made in World War I. It was built by the Germans. It was in the harbor in New York. It was one of those big ships with a swimming pool on and all that stuff, you know. The big wigs rode it to, you know,
Yeah.
took our vacations and stuff, whatever. And there was 13,000 of us got on that thing, fully equipped, and headed for North Africa.
What kind of equipment did you have?
I had an M1 and three bandoliers of ammunition and bedroll. I don't remember what all we did have, but we had a load of it. And you know, you had a shelter half and your all that other stuff. You had a canteen, things like that.
How many rounds of ammunition did you have? I mean, in those.
I really don't remember. There's 8 to the clip, and you had I don't know. You had 4 or 5 clips at least in each bandolier. We had 3 bandoliers. We had several rounds.
Now your M1, was that was fully automatic, or was that
Semi-automatic. You know, of course, we had the .03, which was a sniper's rifle. It was the main gun in World War I.
Mm-hmm.
But it was accurate, you know, for long distance. Of course, the M1 was gas operated, so all you do is pull the trigger and it was loaded again. Already fired and loaded.
Now, what caliber was the M1?
It was the same caliber, 30-06. They kicked pretty good.
How long was the trip from New York over to Africa?
Well, it took us, as well as I remember, it was 13 days to go over to Casablanca in North Africa. We landed there approximately 2 weeks after President Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin met there for their first conference, I think, on the war, where they got together and organized their, you know, what they were going to do together.
So, what all did you do in North Africa?
Trained mostly. But in North Africa it was hot. You didn't do nothing daytime, you stayed in the shade.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hot you could put your skillet out there and bust an egg in it and it would cook in a little while. But in the nighttime we did our maneuvering and training. Daytime you was too hot, you couldn't do nothing, couldn't get in the sun. And there's people, I don't know how they made a living over there. All they had was watermelon and cactus apples, all I ever seen them have. And they'd take cactus apple butter and take that thing like that, open her up and eat that thing. It tastes like persimmons, I did taste them.
Huh.
But if I got one like that, yeah, I would feel my hands clear full of them stickers. I didn't go into the war of fighting there in North Africa, although some of our people did, and they went to. I was in replacements that time, and they went to the division went to Sicily. They took the island of Sicily, and then we flew over to Sicily, landed in the airport there, and we went out. They told us to go and set up our pup tents, you know, didn't know how long we'd be there or nothing. And it wasn't too long. We might have been there maybe a couple of days, and they said, all right, pack her up, boys, we're going in. We packed it up and got ready to go in. We didn't have no idea where we was going or nothing. And but they had us slated to jump next to Rome. Mm-hmm. And some of the airplanes already took off, actually, and they got word back that they done found out where we was going to land. So they had a field ring with all kinds of automatic weapons and stuff. You know, if we landed there, we'd been slaughtered.
Yeah.
So they called that one off, and they brought us back there. And the ones that you know took off, they landed and told us to go back and throw our pup tents again. And one was going. And about the next day, all right, boys, load them up, we're going. So we climbed aboard the planes, and this is in the nighttime we went on that one. And we jumped just this side of the front lines. The regular army went in there and they got, well, this, you know, it's green. Nobody had been in war yet, you might say. And they went in there and they went over this mountain, took the top of the mountain, went down on the other side, and there was sort of a bench out on that side, so they just leveled them out of place there, threw their pup tents down, and went to bed. Next morning, they got up and started rolling up their stuff and waving them old blankets, you know, shaking the dust and stuff out of them. Them Germans cut loose on them, buddy, and they left them by the gangs. That's what we went into. And as the first dead soldiers I seen in the war. And we were going across the hill on top of the mountain. And this fellow from out here in Ohio named Tom Galutz. I never forgot him. He said, huh, so I didn't know we had niggers fighting over here. And I said, well, them not black people there. I said, them boys is white. They'd been laying there for a few days. And it was, I mean, you know, it was purple, it wasn't black. Anyway, we went on and we were down the hill, and then they sent us down to a water point, and we got down there, and there was a bunch of Americans laying down there and dead. And they had went down there to get water too, and the Germans sitting there with an MG-34 machine gun,
Yeah.
and they were all laying there dead. But by the time we got down there, the Germans had pulled out from there and moved on away, you know. I was glad of that.
Yeah.
But then but just before that we went down there though, we were getting water out of a well around the hill from where we were at there. And it was water, and finally turned to mud, and then when we got down to where there wasn't nothing, there's a big old dead snake in there. And we'd been drinking off that thing. But they gave you pills, you know, you put these pills in your water, it was purified water, but still the thought of it was enough.
What was your first fire that you, or first fight that you went into?
That was where we were at. We were already under fire. In fact, before we started up the mountain on the other side, we took a mountain. They had took the mountain away from our boys and had put a ring around, you know, defensive ring around about a third of the way down the mountain from the top of it, because it was the only high peak for observation.
Mm.
So we went and infiltrated, went through them, and took the mountain. Then the Navy started firing on us because they thought we were Germans. Our radio went out. Them radios wasn't worth a hoot back then. And so we were up there, I don't know, 36 hours I believe it was, and we had the Navy throwing them 16-inchers at us. And he'd hit that mountain, it would just shake that mountain like that, you know. And we finally, the colonel sent us by, while I was in on patrol, went back to contact the rear. And his message, they'd send a message this way, says, bring your men back. We're going to have to load the boats up and back out. We can't make it. And he sent the word back, says, unload your boats, boy. My men haven't been taught to retreat.
Yeah.
To do so would be suicide. That's the note he sent. And I was with them when they took it back. And so they started unloading the boat again, and then they sent us down on the, this is the funny part in the way,